to the British company Pirbright on November 20, 2018 for the development of a coronavirus, as posted on several social media, was that of any interest at all in this case? No. According to my sources, COVID-19 had nothing to do with that patent. And yet, Pirbright did provide a lead. Because of the wrong track of this patent, I stumbled upon Pirbright's financial benefactor, Bill Gates, our billionaire from my previous documentary about the fall of the cabal. Our great philanthropist, Bill Gates, well known for his vaccination program. When we look at his investments, and thus his financial interests, it is clear that Bill Gates is everything but a philanthropist. He invested over $200 million in large pharmaceutical companies, giving him great financial interest in the production of vaccines and drugs. Let's take a look at the role of Bill Gates in the corona case. In February 2020, it was announced that Moderna, an American biotechnology concern, has started working on an experimental vaccine. Moderna is sponsored by the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovations, a worldwide alliance that finances and coordinates the development of vaccines. In order to make the corona vaccine as fast as possible, Moderna is now collaborating with Inovio Pharmaceuticals, Wistar, VGXI, a subsidiary of Gene One Life Science, and Twist Bioscience. What do all of these companies have in common? They are all financed by Bill Gates. Let's be honest, this man has a lot to gain from a pandemic. He reminds me of our own Dutch virologist, Ab Osterhaus, who provided the government of the Netherlands, Holland, with his so-called objective advice back in 2009 concerning the battle against the Mexican flu. When the first infected person was officially registered in the Netherlands, he and his co-workers toasted with whiskey on this memorable fact.
Dat we dit goed mogen aanpakken.
And following his advice, the Dutch government ordered 34 million Mexican flu vaccines, with the company in which Osterhaus had a 10% share.
Net na 12 uur gisteravond heeft VWS een order geplaatst voor 34 miljoen doses. Succes.
Follow the money. Let's hand it to them. It's a brilliant concept. There's a problem, you come up with a solution. The problem is a virus, you come up with a vaccine. The greater the problem, the greater your profit. And why not exaggerate the problem a bit? Use your connections at the WHO and the UN to spread a highly overrated message of fear into the world via the mainstream media, where you have lucrative connections as well, and the big bucks come rolling in. And if there is no virus to work with, you create one. COVID-19. You understand what storyline 4 is all about, right? The depopulation program that was so beautifully outlined in Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 by the hand of Henry Kissinger. The special program in which the world population has to be brought back from 7 billion to max 500 million people, all in the name of sustainability and saving planet Earth. And our friend Bill Gates openly assists in reaching this goal by means of his vaccination program.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Oh, and you're going to love this one. In 2019, Netflix broadcast a series about the creation of a universal vaccine. Pandemic: How to Prevent an Outbreak. Who financed the series? Bill Gates. Who played a role star? Bill Gates. Also in 2019, in October, Event 201 took place in New York. Guess what was simulated at the event? The outbreak of a coronavirus. Believe it or not, just before the actual outbreak a few weeks later. Who financed Event 201? Bill Gates. And it gets even crazier. Event 201 was not the first corona exercise. On September 18, at Tianhe Airport in Wuhan, there was an exercise around the alleged infection of a passenger with the coronavirus. To practice. For what? For something they knew darn well was going to happen? Either Bill Gates and his friends are extremely psychic, or they know more than you and me. I bet on the latter, at least for now. Oh, and there's yet another thing about Bill Gates that not many people are aware of. He is the financial force behind the World Health Organization, set up in 1948 by the Rockefellers, the extremely powerful family that I put in the limelight in part 2 of my documentary about the fall of the cabal. The WHO, that most people believe to be an objective organization for the benefit of all of humanity, floats on the dollars of Bill Gates and his charity organization, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So who do you think is behind the plans and their execution of the World Health Organization? Follow the money and everything becomes crystal clear. Now here's a nice little sideline before we continue with storyline number 5. The more I studied Bill Gates, the more he fascinated me. How could a computer nerd, after all he'd started off with a small computer business that in no time grew into the multi-billion-dollar concern Microsoft, how could this post-student suddenly end up on the front page of Forbes with that much money and that much power? Did he come from an ordinary family? While making my previous documentary, my intuition had led me to the real identity of Pizza Place owner James Alefantis, to the almighty Rothschild family. Could Bill Gates be a Rothschild as well? Or, even more likely, a Rockefeller? Bill's father, William Henry Gates, was an attorney. He sat on the board of Planned Parenthood. His mother, Mary Maxwell, was a successful businesswoman. Her family tree turned out to be important. Her grandfather, James Maxwell, was a wealthy banker. Not exactly an average American working-class family, I'd say. Now watch this. Bill Gates' 9th great-grandfather, in other words 12 generations back in time, was Stephen Gifford. This gentleman had 2 children, Hannah and Samuel Gifford. Hannah's family line leads us 10 generations down the line to Bill Gates, while Samuel Gifford's family line takes us 7 generations into the future to none other than Nelson Rockefeller, the 41st Vice President of the US. They belong to the same family. The Rockefellers, whose tentacles of power reach deep in every medical branch, from universities to the FDA, and our Microsoft Bill Gates, all come from the same nest. And not only that, when you go all the way back to the 20th great-grandfather of Bill Gates, which is 23 generations back in time, once again on his mother's side, we end up in the 13th century with John Lestrange V. There we see the fork in his family tree that leads us 21 generations into the future to none other than the Queen of Great Britain. She knighted her distant descendant in 2005 for his contribution to the world of business and charity. Now, many people will say, sure, if you go back in history that far, we're probably all related to each other and to the Queen of England. But I can assure you That is not the case. I invite you to study genealogy. My family tree can be traced all the way back to the 17th century, and there's not a drop of royal blood, nor am I related to Bill Gates. So, Bill Gates is not just anybody. He was born in a full-blood cabal family and grew up with only one goal: to take his place in Henry Kissinger's depopulation program. From the moment he was born, his destination was set in stone. He was to become the face of the vaccines. Vaccines that we know contain mercury, a heavy metal that is stored in our brains where it causes Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. Vaccines that caused incredible misery in countries such as India. Vaccines that were made as a solution to a problem that had been created in the first place by the same people of power and money, the Gates/Rockefellers. Vaccines that were created by supposedly independent pharmaceutical companies, each and every one of which were financed by the Gates/Rockefellers. Do you see a pattern emerge? The corona flu virus was made and turned loose on the world. It's a common flu, but it was used by the cabal as their trump card. No pun intended. A pandemic! The mainstream media are shouting off the rooftops non-stop. Newspapers write about nothing else. Governments emphasize the importance of washing our hands, of quarantine, mouth caps, and the closure of country borders. One person mentions something about toilet paper and everybody runs to the supermarket to stock up toilet paper. Interesting choice, by the way, as COVID-19 does not cause diarrhea. The people are so easily manipulated, it's scary. Fear has taken over. No one seems to be able to think logically anymore. The mind, too, seems to be on lockdown. Henry Kissinger said it loud and clear. It won't be long before we're all force vaccinated. I wonder what else will be in those vaccines, apart from mercury. Why do I think about Dr. Lieber's nanotechnology? Remember? The cognitive influences? The behavioral influences? Oh, thanks, but no thanks.